Welcome back to Brands Hatch. Just some cricket to tell you about, because today at 3:20 live on British Eurosport, and with highlights tonight at 9 o'clock on British Eurosport. Also, it's the World Challengers Bangalore versus the Mumbai Indians. It's the T20 Champions League final. So if you're into cricket, tune in for that. And we are here at Brands Hatch. We're just a few minutes away from the start of the first MCE British Insurance Superbike race of the day. From here, and joining me is Paul Denning, owner of the Crescent Samsung Suzuki team. Paul, we've got to talk about John Hopkins. 2004 was the last time Crescent won the BSB Championship with John Reynolds. You've got one hand on the trophy now with John Hopkins, riding in the form he is at least. But how does it feel in the team?
Nervous, I think, because I really don't think with an 11-point gap and 50 to win, you can say there's a hand on anything just yet. John rode tense yesterday, but toughed it out at the end of the race with Tommy, and I think that was kind of a wake-up call when he saw him come by, and he responded very well. But this means a lot to John, you know. Excuse me. I mean, the fact that he's ridden for big factories in MotoGP, I don't think I've ever seen him as intent on getting a job done as he is today. But that brings its own internal pressures and its own problems, and we're starting right down here at the bottom of the hill, which is still fairly wet because obviously it's miles away from the racing line, and on this kind of half wet, half dry track, the first couple of laps are going to be massively critical. So we'll see. It's nervous times, but that's kind of why you get involved at the start of the year, to challenge for a championship. It's why we did the deal with John and kind of brought him back to racing, and whatever happens, it's been a great story.
Well, if it's OK with you, we'd like to talk to you a bit further on, maybe after the grid walk, because it is time to get on with the grid walk now with James Whittam. He's over there standing next to the man in question, John Hopkins.
Cheers, Tony, and I'm with John Hopkins. John, for a man who's under immense pressure and in a position to win the championship and all this is going on, you seem the most laid-back man on the grid.
Well, I've just, you know, we've had a good bike. Samsung Credit Suzuki's given me a good bike all year, and yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's just another day at the races. You know, we you know, we got a big job to do today, but you know, there's no point in getting all amped up and, you know, all worried, because you know, what's going to happen is going to happen. I got to go out, try my best like I have done all year, and you know, we'll see what the outcome is. What
are conditions like? I saw your bike rolling back, fitted with slick tyres, but there was a real sort of damp, wet patch around the middle of the tyre.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's it's pretty wet out there. You know, no doubt about it. It is pretty wet, but you know, we just got to go out, stay calm, you know, get a feel for the track, for the surface, and just try and keep it up there at the front.
Speaking of getting a feel for the track, we noticed that you were kind of conspicuous by your absence this morning in the damp warm-up session. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was just, you know, it was only a 10-minute session, so what was going to be, you know, with the race condition. You know, there's a lot of little things that can get into the bike, you know, a lot of little mistakes you can make in the wet, so, you know, we just figured, you know, let's wait for the race, and yeah, so here we are.
I think I'm more nervous than you. Good luck, John.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to move on now. Let's have a look at what we got here. Let's have a look with, we're going to go and have a word with, I tell you what, we're going to have a word knocked back onto row 2, because just back here, coming through, this is a packed grid. There's a lot more people, with it being the last meeting, a lot at stake, there's a lot more people on the grid than there ever is. Mick Shanley, that's the crew chief of this man, Tommy Hill. You're looking relaxed, ready for it?
Yeah, were you trying to turn me around to the sunshine then? Pretend we weren't in the UK. Yeah,
top me tan up.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, yeah, the clouds come in this morning and we've had a bit of rain, so track's drying out pretty quick, the sun's come out, so hopefully we just get out there, get into rhythm and get on the dry lines and get stuck in. You know, we know what we need to do at the end of the day, so just try and treat it race by race and try and get the job done. You've got,
I know you had an issue yesterday, had lots of problems that we won't bore people with, but you had an engine problem, you had a second-rate engine in the bike, not just as much power, and really that affects you a little bit mentally as well, you know, when you know you haven't got just as much as what you need.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, when we're racing at the front of the championship and doing lap by lap and being consistent, any little issue or problem is a problem. You know, no one likes excuses, so hopefully they're out the window now, we can just crack on.
Ready for it then?
Well, I hope so, yeah, that's the plan, man.
Good luck, man. Right, he's got to get his helmet on. It's really difficult, speaking to riders. As an ex-rider, you kind of feel for them. These blokes, what they're going through now is normally they'd be really, really nervous. But the fact is now they've got parts of the track damp, parts of the track wet. They've got essentially a drying line because the Supersport race has just been out, as you know. And there's a really dry line, but damp outside that and wet beyond that. And those are the most difficult conditions to contend with. So not only have you got the normal nerves, last round of the championship, lots of people here, you've also got that. It would be so easy to make a mistake in these conditions. What we're going to do now, we're going to go forward. Maybe I tell you, there's the man. There's the man. We're just going to Excuse me. Troy, every minute for a word. If there's anybody got the experience to know what you should be doing in conditions like this, and with a championship at stake, it's this man, Troy Corser, the most experienced racer still riding today, I would suggest you are.
Yeah, you know, I've done over 465 races, I think, or somewhere there. But
nobody's counting, but yeah.
I've ridden in conditions like that actually here a few times, and it is pretty tricky, especially the start. You know, being on a bit of a slope, you've got to watch the line, but track looks like it's drying out pretty fast, so I'm hoping for everyone it does dry out and it'll be a good race. I
know you spend a lot of time in the UK. You kind of split your time between kind of Monaco, Australia, but you spend time in the UK. Have you followed the BSB at all?
Well, I watch it all the time. You know, obviously been watching Glenn Richards in the Evo class, and great to see he won the championship. But I'm good friends with Hopper as well, so and Tommy. So it's good to see them all up the front in Dyson.
Go on then. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your money on?
I'd like to think Tommy. I heard yesterday had a problem with one of their engines, and he wasn't on his best engine. So I'm hoping that the boys got the engine fixed for today, and I think the bike will be a little bit faster than what it was yesterday. So, but you know, Hopper's not going to give in. He's doing so well with a hand injury like he's got. So. It's definitely going to be on for the last lap, I reckon.
Nice to talk to you, Troy.
Cheers, mate.
Right, if you just look here, you look down, you can actually see that? That's like a damp patch. There's a couple of damp patches. If you look to the right, just by where the sort of light gantry is, that's wet. And the problem with this start area is it's on a real slope, so if you run over your white line, that tends to be slippy. The damp, it'll spin up at the back, and the back will kick out. It won't just spin and fishtail and go forward. It'll actually spin and kick out. Obviously, the back will go that way. These are really, really treacherous conditions. I really don't envy the boys. The sun's out now. It will be drying out. You're going to have to stick to that dry line, and I'm getting more nervous than most of these boys. Tony, take it away.
Thanks, Whit. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. The tension is palpable. You really could cut it with a spoon out here. Paul Denning is still with me. Paul, we're here on pit wall looking over, and you were pointing out the colour differences in the tarmac, and you say that this, although it's still minorly damp, it's enough to make a slick spin.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, John's going to have to really use some careful clutch control to get a good launch from there. And it's off camber as well, so obviously the tendency is for the tyre to want to push sideways. So bone dry and nice and warm at the top, and lots of rubber on it from the last race, and damp and a bit horrible looking down the bottom there. So a little bit stacked up against him off the start, but that's what you pay these guys for. He's a good guy, so we'll see what he does.
Exactly. Racing is full of imponderables. Talking of imponderables, how is he approaching this race? Have you talked to him? Has he got any tactics?
No, I've known him a long time and worked with him a long time, but I chatted to Les, his crew chief, this morning and said, listen, what do you think? Do you think it's worth a kind of, relax and whatever chat? And I tend to agree with Les when he said, no, just leave him to it, and he knows what's to be done. And you can second guess too many variables, second guess too many options that might happen. Just needs to look up the racetrack and try and beat whoever's in front of him. And maybe the last 5-6 laps, if there's a certain situation developing, tactic may change. But I think if you go into it with the thought that you've just got to either follow or beat Tommy, you could easily end up 7th on a track like this and Tommy win, and then it's all got to start again. But it's going to be a really, really nerve-wracking race, and on a racetrack whereby, the mixture of exercise and caution and making it happen is going to be a fine balance for these guys to find.
One of the great strengths of John Hopkins, you would expect him to think this race through and then be there at the Emperor's Scrap. Maybe,
let's see. I mean, he's fired up. He wants to try and win. I think that's without doubt, because it's the only way you can go into it. But he's a smart kid, and I think he'll have it covered, but there's a lot of variables, that's for sure.
OK, Paul, thanks for talking to us. Really appreciate that. You can see the guys are now heading off on their sighting lap, so let's get on with the first MCE British Insurance Superbikes race of the day and go to our commentators James Whittam and Jack Burnham.
22 races out of 24, and it's all come down to this, with 11 points separating John Hopkins and Tommy Hill. Samsung Crescent Suzuki and the Sean Muir Racing Team Swan Yamaha. And don't forget, Michael Laverty, Josh Brooks, Shaky Byrne also in the mix. And it's Josh Brooks' fastest lap yesterday on his way to a hard-fought second place. The Australian on the Suzuki bike, the relentless by Taz Suzuki, is the man on pole position. Tommy Hill on the second row. This is how the points start. 6.25 for John Hopkins. Tommy Hill on 614. Laverty not out of it yet on the second Swan Yamaha on 590. Just 2 points ahead of Josh Brooks on the relentless by Taz Suzuki. And then we've got Shaky Byrne's HM Plant Honda, Ryuichi Kinari's HM Plant Honda, then Kirkham, Rutter, Hickman and Gary Mason rounding out the top 10. They had mixed fortunes yesterday. Martin Jessup is 11th ahead of Walker. Loris Baz, James Westmoreland and Graham Gowland, who was sensational yesterday on the Team WFR Evo Honda. Stuart Easton, Tommy Bridewell, Alex Lowes, Dan Linfoot and Glenn Richards round out the top 20. Fastest man on track yesterday, Josh Brooks, the Australian on the relentless Suzuki, is on pole position ahead of Swan Yamaha's Michael Laverty. Shaky Byrne, a faller again in warm-up in the damp this morning, is in third place for HM Plant Honda ahead of championship leader John Hopkins. The second row headed at the top of that slope on the Brabham Straight by Swan Yamaha's Tommy Hill, starting behind Brooks. John Kirkham's Samsung Crescent Suzuki is second on the second row ahead of James Ellison, impressive yesterday for SorryMate.com Honda, and Michael Rutter's Ducati. The third row, Gowland, the leading Evo bike, ahead of departing champion Yuichi Kianari, Martin Jessup and Chris Walker on the Primo Racing Kawasaki. Ian Lowry's Colchester Kawasaki heads up row 4 ahead of Alex Lowes, Tommy Bridewell and James Westmoreland. The final riders roll up onto the grid. The last man to arrive on the front row of the grid is John Hopkins on the Samsung Crescent Suzuki number 21.
Yeah, and you see how he's moved his wheel to the side, so he's going over the least amount of paint on the grid, you know, that marks the grid. He's right to the right-hand side. He needs to keep it to his left, because I'll tell you, down at the bottom end of that start and finish straight, just beyond the grid, it's wet, not damp, wet.
Look at Josh Brooks. He's arrowed towards the absolute apex of Paddock Hill there on the right-hand side of picture on pole position. He gets a great drive on the relentless bike to Suzuki. So does Shaky Byrne and
Brooks.
Michael Laverty, but Brooks, he has it. Hopper's going the long way round the outside down Paddock Hill.
Dangerous move.
Tommy Hill tucks inside and gets ahead of the American going up Haywood Hill into Druids. And it's Shaky Byrne who grabs the advantage from Brooks, and the two Yamahas, but a very cautious Tommy Hill allows John Kirkham to dip underneath him at the exit to Druids, and that's a fairly vital move. The tall Derbyshireman now has got ahead of the second of the Yamahas. Here comes Laverty.
Yeah, and I tell you what, these are difficult conditions. I know you've talked about it in the Supersport race, but the point is, it's not dry on line, damp off line, it's actually lots of wet patches, real wet, that would cause real spray and would require kind of wet tyres, so you don't want to be going offline.
20 laps ahead of them as Tommy Hill immediately responds by getting underneath John Kirkham. Oh, he collides with Kirkham. Kirkham almost knocks Tommy Hill off as they go along the Mentor Straight. There's Shaky Byrne leading the way.
There's no Hopkins.
Where's Hopkins?
Hopkins!
Hopkins is off the track. Hopkins has a problem.
The bike stopped.
Les Pearson looks on in disbelief.
He's trying to turn everything off. That's electrical, because he's tried to turn everything off. He's got it back. It's like resetting a computer. You know, you turn it off, wait 10 seconds, then get it going again. And Hopkins has done that. I don't think he's been on its side. I think it was a stop, not a crash.
And John Hopkins never went out in warm-up this morning. He never used that bike. It never has been checked out on track before he went out now. And look what's happened. Look at this.
Oi.
Whoa, what a ride by Laverty round the outside into Paddock Hill Bend. Supremely confident.
Yeah, that's confidence, because that's a... Oh, he's down!
Now he's down! So is Martin Jessup.
Jessup's down.
The conditions catching out simultaneously Michael Laverty and Martin Jessup. And there's number 16, Hickman in trouble on the Tyco Honda. Oh, it's all going on.
Yeah,
that's Laverty trying to remount. Shaky Byrne, who crashed heavily yesterday, touched the oil at the top of Westfield and went down, and he fell in the wet this morning. Now he's leading the way.
Exactly. You have got to be exactly online. If you go offline, you're going to go down. You look at Laverty, a bit wide, damp patch, down it goes. And that's exactly what it was. Exactly. I think he'd have got away with that if it had happened another couple of laps on, because once the wets he was offline. He was definitely offline. Yeah, that's kind of self-inflicted, unfortunately.
So, number 67, Shaky Byrne, HM Plant Honda, the unexpected recipient. Whoa, and there's Jessup just...
bringing all his that's all his motocross experience coming into play there. That was brilliant.
That was terrific to stay on it there at Paddock Hill. Laverty, yesterday's race winner, has remounted. His younger brother, Eugene, is third in the World Superbike Championship, is here to cheer him on, but nothing to cheer right now. We're on the second lap of 20, and it's absolutely everything gone off already here. Hopkins is 28 and last. Shaky Byrne's at the front. 2 laps in, out of 20, and Tommy Hill has tried to deal with a very obstructive and aggressive John Kirkham. Oh, Brooks went wide! I said Brooks has gone wide as he dropped into Paddock Hill. I saw him go wide, and he's gone.
You cannot run off line today, just like the conditions are. They will, because they're not damp patches, they're actually wet patches. That's the thing.
But he was wide going down there,
wide.
James.
Absolutely way wide. Way wide.
As Josh entered it, and he's been off there before, bless him. And again, the bike barrel rolls. That's
same place as Jessup. Yeah, they'll be talking about conditions for sure.
So it's well, what a state we're in. We've got Byrne, Kirkham, Hill at the front. Someone else is off.
Laws is off as well, and he looks like he's knocked about.
That's Alec Lowe's on the Motor Point Yamaha, and Tommy Hill at the moment has got past Kirkham. He's got past John Kirkham. He doesn't want to get pushed about though by the tall Derbyshire man. He doesn't need to get involved in that too much.
It's not that, because Shane Byrne's out front, he can pick his line, he can see what he's doing. He's not kind of obstructed by a bike in front. He doesn't have to try and overtake anybody, and that's the problem. If you're in a group, there's Hopkins.
Talk about being on your own and not obstructed. Hopper is in now 25th place. He's benefited from people falling. Michael Laverty's gone back in. He will now go out and try and get the fastest lap to start off pole.
Exactly that, yep.
Crossing the line to complete 3 laps. There is Shaky Byrne, the 34-year-old, just become down. Here comes Ellison's having a look, thinking about going, oh, Tommy, don't go wide down there. You really mustn't get offline.
No, absolutely, you've got to stay on line. It will get better, but it'll take a while because, as I say, it's not damp patch, it's just about to dry up. It's actually really wet.
Oh, Tommy, no!
And that's the same damp patch that caught out Laverty.
Dear me, this is just a scary place to be right now, Brands Hatch. And John Kirkham makes a lunge up the inside. We've got a bike on fire. That could be Ian Lowry's.
It could be
We've
Lowry.
got a bike on fire and gone down. It is Lowry.
Yep.
So the Ian Lowry, the Ulsterman, has gone out with the MSS Colchester Kawasaki.
This is what happened, I think.
This is Hill.
Oh, that's the Hill incident.
Wow, we did well. And Lowry's gone down at the same spot.
Same place. Yep, same place.
Well, and Lowry was running in 9th place. There's a lot of Chris Walker fans here this weekend, and Chris running in 7th place on the Primo Kawasaki.
Tommy Hill doesn't need this. He doesn't want to get embroiled in a battle with people who really have no kind of influence, or not influence, but no... blow up.
That's Michael Rutter. Is that Michael Rutter's bike that's gone?
They'll bring him in because it's smoking his brains out. That
was definitely Michael Rutter making progress on the rapid substance phase of Ducati.
Right, the throttle's closed now. If it puffs smoke when he opens the throttle, he's doing that. That's a kind of valve guide or piston ring issue, is that? Not that it matters, but that's what it is.
John Kirkham, a former winner at Brands Hatch. Straight away they get the signal out to Michael Rutter. He's a vastly experienced, most experienced man on track in BSB. You hope that he'll take notice of it pretty quickly.
Oh, of course he will. Yeah, there's no point in carrying on. If your bike's smoking, it probably ain't going to go the distance with 15 to go anyway.
Now, Tommy Hill will have been boarded that John Hopkins is running in about 23rd place, James, so he knows that he needn't get too involved in the guys immediately around him.
No, but he needs to push on, he doesn't need to start thinking, I don't need to push, he needs to just get into a rhythm and go at a pace he's happy with, and that sometimes is a quicker pace than slacking off and letting everybody pass you.
And by a strange coincidence, it's James Ellison who's right behind him again. It was Ellison who was pestering him throughout the race yesterday.
Ellison's riding it. He's riding
superbly.
Yeah, I agree.
He's after his first podium finish of the season here on the number 16 Honda. At the front, we've got Shaky Byrne with a 3-second advantage over Kirkham.
And Tommy's making a few mistakes. He ran off line there, and that's allowed Ellison up the inside. He didn't get past. But the thing is, as soon as you're running off line, and some seconds before it happens, if you're going to run off line typically. And all you can do is kind of close the throttle, hope you don't crash, and kind of brace yourself. It's a really awkward thing.
Michael Rutter has stopped at Surtees, so thankfully the blade has realised that black flag was for him. He's pulled him straight away, so hopefully no problem there.
And I think Charlie Hiscott has got Michael Laverty with him.
Michael, you did look to be slightly offline when you went down at Druids.
I was online, just hit the few damp patches and just caught me out, so a bit unlucky, but turn 1 and Druids was still damp, and knew that, and it was... I made a brave move out round Shane into turn 1. I went into Druids cautious, but still wasn't cautious enough, and down I went. So yeah, bit of a bummer really, but we need to get back out here and get a lap time for the grid position for race 2. So I've hurt the championship again, but yeah, pushing on, trying for the win, and that's what happens.
Hard luck, Michael.
Cheers.
Michael Laverty, isn't it amazing the way that the rules work here? Because Laverty doesn't even have to bother rushing back out. He wants the track as dry as possible so he can go as fast as possible.
The thing is though, Jack, you know, if people are out on intermediates and wets and then it dries out, you will go a lot quicker just by putting slicks on and going back out. The fact is though, everybody's out there on slicks, so he won't be able to go a lot quicker. All they can do is put a soft tyre in, a soft slick and go.
Burn Kirkham Hill, Ellison 4th, just Walker now 5th, Gowler in 6th place on the leading Mirror.co.uk Evo bike, ahead of Tommy Bridewell, the Evo champion Glenn Richards, Dan Linfoot, Steve Mercer now in 10th. Whoa, shaky, somehow surviving way offline, and Kirkham is catching him. Kirkham just could be catching him.
Well, I tell you what, Kirkham's only BSB win to this point was in conditions almost identical to this.
It was at Croft, the first race at Croft.
Yep.
And at the moment he's running strongly in second place. Tommy Hill just gives himself a marginal breathing space there.
And I think that's what he needs to do. He needs to get a little bit of space and settle down, take a deep breath.
Ellison
off the bike. Completely off the bike.
Wow, that was a save.
Yeah, it was, because both wheels went. He lost the front, then the back went, and then his foot slipped off, and then the thing gripped again. Oh, it's all going on here.
We're only on the 7th lap of 20, folks. That's 7th lap of 20. There's Chris Walker having a storming ride on the Primo Kawasaki.
As is Gowland.
Are the Evo, the WFR bikes of Gowland and Richards sandwiching Tommy Bridewell. We've got a pair of fallers. And
looks like that's Mercer on the WFR Honda, and I think Barry Burrell, is it?
It might be.
No.
Oh, dear me. That was a nasty one for Mercer, and it was one of the build baits. I think it was Barry Burrell that went down.
Yeah.
And I think it was Carl Harris who managed to thread his way between them. The burly barrel of Carl Harris.
You never hear him threading his way through anything.
And I think that will put Carl Harris and the Split Laugh Aprilia team, now part owned by Derek Redmond, the former Olympic athlete, into the top 10, which is a great result for them at the moment. Tommy Hill beginning to cool things down, getting a bit, calming himself down a bit. Hoppers getting within sight of the points in 19th place.
And I tell you what, James Ellison, that man there, just going into Paddock Hill, has had the big scare up at Druids, and I think he's decided that he's not going to push on that much more.
This is really interesting because you've got Gowland, Bridewell and Richards running together 6th, 7th and 8th. Then the gap back to here. This is Dan Linfoot. Dan Linfoot there just ahead of... And I think we've got Charlie down in pit lane with Josh Brooks. Over to you, Charlie.
Josh, that was a big crash. Are you uninjured?
It wasn't that big. Just a minefield out there with the wet patches. You know, it's quite visible to see looking at the monitors. But when you're on the bike, it's tough to see where the wet patches are, and that's why I think you're seeing so many guys going down. So the slick tyres, just you hit one bit of water and you're down. So I mean, that's any title hopes I might have been able to salvage gone, but yeah, I'm unhurt, so it's fine.
Can you get bike ready for race 2?
I don't know, it looked like it took a bad flip there, so I mean, we'll wait and see.
Thanks, Josh. Hard luck.
A very disappointed Josh Brooks then, and he's right, it is a minefield out there, but James, he was crucially that 3 or 4 feet just to the left of where he needed to be on the end.
Yeah, but in his defence...
And then he was in the minefield.
Yeah, in his defence, you're going in there, even in these conditions at, 120, 130 miles an hour, you're trying to slow your speed down, lots are happening, and if you're going wide, you can't just stop and turn. It's not like a car where you can just turn your steering wheel, you're kind of committed when you go in, so...
Look at this, Yuichi Kianari, number 1 for the last day of the present part of his career, getting sliced past by number 21, John Hopkins, moving through then into 16th place. Ahead of him is Dan Neen, the Manxman, and he's the only man who stands between Hopkins and his first point of the race.
6 seconds between that man there, Hopkins. Now there's less than 6 seconds now, that looks about 4 or 5 to me. So Hopkins is definitely going to catch Neen, possibly Smart in front of him. Yeah, he's got a chance of a 10th or a 12th here.
I think he may do better than that. This is number 81, Gowland, with number 46, Bridewell, hunting. Bridewell on the Motorpoint Yamaha having a good ride. The young man from down in the West Country, Devices. Number 81, Gowland from the other end of the country, in the South Tyne Valley up near Hexham. Number 81 on the WFR Honda. His teammate Glenn Richards, already crowned Evo champ, number 45 running right behind them in 8th, the veteran Australian, who the even more veteran Australian, the shortly to retire Troy Corser, has come here to support.
Yeah,
this is how it stands at the moment, James.
Right, okay.
Hill would take a 5-point advantage over Hopkins, but Hopkins is going to get more points than that. It's going to get tighter than that, I do believe.
I think you're
Shaky
right, yeah.
Byrne, look at that. Shaky's on 600 points, and the shame for Shaky is it'll leave him only just out of it if he can win this race. But notice Kirkham's lapping quicker and closing the gap at the front.
He is, crucially, yeah. Not much quicker, 10th of a second quicker that last lap. And to be fair to Shane Byrne, he made a crucial mistake in one corner. That cost him time.
You mentioned yesterday Gowland's sheer turning pace on there. Here is Hopkins. This is Hopkins on Dan Nean.
Yep.
Dan Nean, who was the best newcomer at the Isle of Man a year or two ago. He's quite impressed the marksman, but he's just going to lose out here to Hopper. So Hopkins moves through. That's 15th place. That's his first point of the race.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking about Gowland. Yeah, I'm impressed the way Gowland's on a bike that's probably about 25 brake horsepower down on a full. Here we go. That's Laverty going out to put a fast lap in and try and get a grip position for race 3 of the weekend.
And he's waited coolly until half race distance. We're on the 10th lap of 20. Michael Laverty rejoined on the second Swan Yamaha.
It's a funny job this, when you think about the rules, because this is obviously what you're going to try and do within the rules, but you can have an effect on the race, you know what I mean? There's Hopkins there trying to get back. I mean, he's been a gentleman, he's keeping out of people's way, but you could definitely affect, it's a weird situation, really.
Hopkins dives down into Graham Hill Bend in 15th place. 55 behind him, Dan Nean. Incidentally, this is Tommy Hill currently lying in 3rd place. This is his 160th British Superbike race. Shaky Byrne then. It's 196th for him, number 67, the two-time former champion. And once again, he loses a couple of tenths of a second on that lap to Kirkham. And Tommy Hill is beginning to pick up pace, 128.0 on that lap, fastest lap of the race for Hill. It's half distance, and Tommy Hill begins to close down on the front runners.
Yeah, and I think Tommy's really settled down now. Just felt a bit of pressure, I think. These conditions didn't help. You can't make one single mistake, otherwise you're going to be on your backside. And this Hill's just doing the job right now. He's settled down, smoothed out, the riding's good, he's not running wide anywhere, not pushing in anywhere. Perfect.
That was a scary moment when he and Kirkham collided on the Minter Straight early on. Look at Shaky, considering what Shaky's been through. That damage, that scaphoid he hurt when he had that huge crash at Westfield yesterday. He's not riding entirely comfortably.
He's not, but you know what he's about, Shaky. He knows how quick he is. He's had bad luck this weekend, but he still gets up, still smiles, still tries. Hey up.
Oh, he got another faller. Is that Glenn Richards? Oh, Glenn Richards, the veteran Australian who has already won the Mirror.co.uk Evo Championship. Thankfully, he looks all right because he's had a couple of bad injuries in the last couple of years, Glenn. But the former national Superstock and British Supersport champion looks to be just a bit winded.
That looks like it's going on to the long part of the track at Surtees, that. Ooh, big high side that. He's landing on his back, he'll be winded. I think otherwise unarmed up.
And we've very rarely seen the WFR Hondas crash this year, James.
Yeah,
that's quite a rare picture.
You very rarely see Glenn Richards crash because he's an old pro.
Whereas Gowler's a young pro.
Well, you just get fed up of beating the God bejesus out of yourself. That's what it is every weekend.
Walker crosses the line in 5th place now on the Primo Kawasaki. Great ride for the 4-time former runner-up.
Sorry, Tommy out of the seat then. Big mistake up at Druids. Hit a damp patch. I didn't quite see what happened, but he's definitely lost time there. He's lost a lot of time there. Yellow flag's out for the.
That man's just set the fastest lap of the race. Kirkham, 127.94.
Yeah, no yellow flags there. That's past the Glenn Richards incident. It's all cleared up now, though.
And what Kirkham's doing is exactly what Jack Valentine and John Hopkins would want of him, and that is to take points off principally Tommy Hill. Strong ride by the Derbyshire boy on the Samsung Crescent Suzuki.
Hopkins has made his way forward now, 14th. I think mainly because Richards is down. Glenn Richards has given Hopkins that 14th place.
So that's a precious extra point. So here's Hopkins, and he's got more pro. He's got James Hillier just ahead of him, and ahead of Hillier is Scott Smart on the red Moto Rapido Ducati. So Hopkins picking up points all the time, dips inside James Hillier. Hillier's been riding very impressively this weekend, Good
rider. He's the most laid-back man in the world, and you want to see him on one of them trials bicycle trick bike things. Unbelievable. Really good.
Dropping down Pilgrims, and he's got Scott Smart, local man of course, nephew of the great Barry Sheen, dropping through Hawthorns, and that's another point picked up. That'll be up to 12th place then for this man. 1, 2, 3, 4 points in the bag for John Hopkins after that early electrical glitch.
Yeah, and I tell you what,
on the 13th of 20 laps, he could make a lot of progress yet, I think. Because
I think he's got 18 seconds now in front of him to Patrick Muff. A big lot of time now.
But a lot of clear track. Tommy Hill on 630 points at the moment. John Hopkins on 629 if they stay where they are right now. And you can see why Tommy, James, would really rather like to get himself a little bit further up the field. Hopper,
yep.
P12, the board goes out.
L8, P12.
Shaky Byrne had a lead of 0.359 of a second over John Kirkham at the front. Tommy Hill was 3.6 seconds behind the Derbyshireman, and his last lap after that big moment at Druids, James, had cost him almost 2 seconds. Now these guys nailed together, because once again Kirkham pushing hard, although on the last lap he was a tenth slower, you wouldn't think, just looking at them now.
And I tell you what, I didn't see in the back of that shot Tommy Hill, so he's dropped some more time. I think
Tommy's about 3.6 seconds behind them.
Yep.
So I think third place is going to be his if he just sits where he is at the moment. As they cross the line, Kirkham 127.7, fastest lap of the race. Here's Tommy Hill now. He's already into lapped riders. James Ellison still keeping him company and not far behind, only 0.8 of a second separating Hill from Ellison.
As they went over the line that last lap, Hopkins had a 19-second buffer, gap to bridge between him and Patrick Muff in 11. So he's getting more difficult as you move up the field. As it would.
Crossing already across the line then, onto their 14th lap. We've got Byrne and Kirkham. There they are, nailed together as they go out, vaulting out to the top of Surtees and drop down Pilgrims. We've got Hill, Ellison, Walker, Gowland, Bridewell, Westmoreland, Linfoot and Carl Harris in the top 10. Look at Kirkham hanging out the back end of the Suzuki as they go tearing through the 100-mile-an-hour right-hander at Hawthorns.
Well, there's one thing you can't knock Kirkham for his bravery. The best results he has are always in iffy conditions, dodgy tyre choices, bravery, running offline, lots of people crashing. You know, he's a brave kid.
And he's certainly pushing Shaky on. But Shaky's showing he's got such a great riding style when he's going like this, Shaky.
Yeah, economical.
The knees stay pinned to the tank until the last moment as he drops into the apex of the turn.
And
really
do you know what I like to see in a rider? He's got a relaxed style, it's loose. You know, when he hits a bump, the thing he kind of moves. He's not stiff. He's not really loose riding style. Hey up.
Kirkham's threatening him as they drop down Paddock Hill onto the 15th of 20 laps. We're almost at three-quarter distance. And look at this, fastest laps. We've got Kirkham, Byrne, Hill. They would be on the front row of the grid for the final race. There's no sign of John Hopkins on that list. Hopkins' best lap so far is his last lap, 129.1. So he'd be on the second row at the moment. Could do with perhaps improving that a bit.
You'd think so, but I mean, how's he going to do? I mean, he's had bits of clear track, and I don't think conditions are going to improve drastically before the end. He's not going to go that much quicker.
Well, James, he'd probably prefer to start where Tommy Hill did, from the
top of the second row than the bottom of the
because the second row. Tommy's going to be lower down the front row where Hopper struggled.
Yeah, but conditions are going to be better for race 3, we hope. So he won't have that damp patch on the inside he had to contend with the race, this race.
It's a beautiful warm day here in the Garden of England right now as we check out the... If it finishes now, there'd be 1 point between Hill and Hopkins. Hopkins with about an 18.5 second gap up ahead of him to Patrick Muff on the Tyco Honda.
I don't think he's going to get much further than that because he's only pulling a second, 2 seconds back on Muff, and there's only 5 laps to do it.
Yeah, he only pulled back a half second really on the last lap.
Yep.
So we complete the 15th lap. This is three-quarter distance. Shaky Byrne, HM Plant Honda, riding a really cool race just in front of John Kirkham on the Samsung Crescent Suzuki. Tommy Hill crosses the line, 6.5 seconds behind, but Ellison is closing the gap. Again, Ellison, fastest lap of his race, 128.002. And that means that Tommy Hill's lost a place there. He'd now start from the bottom of the hill on the front row because Ellison's gone a fraction quicker.
And Tommy's got problems.
Tommy Hill on a 1:28.5 on that last 6.5 seconds behind Kirkham.
Sorry, got totally confused. That was Laverty getting out
That
of the way.
was Michael Laverty keeping out of the way, James, with the green helmet, correct. 5th place for Chris Walker. 6th still is Bridewell. 7th Bridewell, sorry. 8th for James Westmoreland on the other WFR Honda, the 2012 bike that is being developed by that team. James Ellison is still closing that gap. On the last lap he took about 0.8 of a second, so the gap down to 0.3 of a second, and here is Ellison. Now if Ellison were to nudge past Hill, of course, that would change things at the top of the championship table. So crucial moments here, because here's John Hopkins dropping down into Graham Hill Bend. He is in 12th place.
Yep.
And the gap now 17.7 seconds up to the next man, Patrick Moff, who's riding really solidly.
Patrick's
the former world endurance racer.
Yep.
Talking about world endurance racing, the former world endurance champion, number 16, James Ellison on the sorrymate.com Honda.
Yeah.
James, though, not quite able to leave or open a gap on Tommy.
But Tommy really doesn't need to slip behind Ellison. He needs every point he can get.
So if they rumble round Druids on the overrun, then open this downhill, James, it's so steep when you're not watching it on television. That is so impressive as they come down.
I'm aware of that, Jack.
Oh, and here comes it now. Ellison gets that inside line, which is where Tommy got overtaken crucially by Hopper yesterday. Byrne, Kirkham, Hill, Ellison. This is the battle between Tommy Hill and James Ellison.
And he's probably not going to like me for saying it, but I've got to say James Ellison, for all his speed, he's not a rider who will force an opening, you know.
He lost the outside ped again, coming out of Hawthorns.
Ellison is a man who is quite considered, and he'll overtake and it'll be safe and it'll be smooth and it'll be clean. But he's not the type who will have a real sort of lunge on the last few laps, which might just help Tommy Hill.
So Ellison at the moment running strongly in 4th place.
He's got a good drive there.
He did get good drive. Now, can he get inside there? Tommy just holds his line, not an expensive one particularly, but just he keeps where he wants to be.
You'd have to think that the Swan Yamaha would have the edge on the sorrymate.com Honda Estates, but it looks pretty quick, does that Honda?
So 31-year-old James Ellison in 4th place, shadowing Tommy Hill, the man who is hoping to emerge from this race with a lead in the championship. At the moment, we're looking at checking back downfield. Bridewell crosses the line just behind Graham Gowland. They're running 6th and 7th. Westmoreland will be next through. We'll check out the gap between Hopkins and Patrick Muff in 11th and 12th places.
But it's going to, I don't think he can do anything to catch Muff for 11th. I think Hopkins, barring anybody falling off, I think is going to finish in that 12th position.
Carl Harris having a great run in 10th place in his 150th British Superbike race, the big strong man from Sheffield.
Some of which you can't even remember, probably.
Patrick Muff, 3.3 seconds behind Carl Harris, running in 11th place for Tyco Honda. The gap back to Hopkins, 15.4 seconds on that lap. Hopper once again takes, this time he takes a big chunk out, about 1.4 seconds out of Patrick Muff's advantage.
Now, Dan Neen now in front of Ellison and Hill. And this could be crucial. No, they've got him on the straight.
I think they're going to... but look at that, Ellison gets... and Tommy Hill gets forced right going down to Clearways and has to come back and close the envelope.
Yeah, but at least Tommy Hill had the dry part of the track out wide. The damp patches are mostly on the inside there, which is what Ellison elected.
Ellison got great drive again, coming out onto the Brabham straight, James.
They're lapping at almost the same speed, catching somebody, incrementally and passing them, especially when conditions like this and you can't run so far offline, as two different things.
Shaky Burns just set the fastest lap of the race on the HM Planned Honda, 1:27.107. We're on the 19th lap of 20. James Ellison just thought about it, dived down.
Yeah, it's not like him to make a lack of...
and this time again he gets that good drive, really good drive into Surtees. Surely he's got it this time. No, not quite. Tommy just braves it out and hangs onto his line.
Yep. And I've got to say, he's not bothered about having an influence on the championship, isn't it, Ellison? We can deduct that.
18 laps completed. Byrne leads it. Kirkham in second. This, the duel for third place. So crucial to Tommy Hill if he wants to take a lead in the championship into the final race of the series against John Hopkins.
Yeah, one lap after this, and he's got a real drive there. Don't know what happened to Tommy Hill. He got a real drive and gone round the outside as Ellison. But again, it doesn't work.
Looks at the inside, yeah, at least he's now looking for those different lines, James. He's pressing hard. This is probably the last thing that Hill needs at this stage.
There's something wrong with Hill's tyre. He's getting such good drive.
Hill lost out then.
Yeah,
completely. He got no drive out of Sterling's at all. That will change the championship picture.
Ellison's just getting a lot better drive out of every single corner.
So now Tommy Hill is forced back to 4th place. Patrick Muff was still at a 14-second advantage over Hopkins, so we can assume it's likely that Hopkins will finish 12th, and that will mean Hopkins will take a 2-point advantage into the championship finale over Tommy Hill.
Ellison's gone wide. I don't think Tommy's got the tools now to keep up with Ellison. That's what I can see.
It just makes you realise how hard Tommy's been riding to fend off the Sorrymate.com Honda, because he's lost ground so quickly at this point.
Yeah, he's no drive. He just hasn't. He looks to have a little bit of side grip, but once Ellison opens the throttle, he just tramps away from the Yamaha.
Shaky Byrne has a 0.3 of a second advantage over Kirkham at the front. Ellison now looking for Sorrymate.com Honda's, well, certainly his, James Ellison's first rostrum finish of the season.
Year,
Great result for them. Not such a great result for Tommy Hill, nudged back to 3rd place. Bridewell 7th ahead of Westmoreland and Linfoot. Harris still enjoying that 10th place, and you can see that John Hopkins will indeed have to settle for 12th. Those 4 points means that he will go into the lead in the championship, into the final race. 67, Shaky Byrne, HM Plant Honda, finally rewarded after a bruising weekend with victory here at Brands Hatch, ahead of John Kirkham in 2nd place. 3rd place for Sorrymate.com Honda's James Ellison. The 31-year-old Cumbrian crosses the line ahead of Tommy Hill, the would-be champion, now just not quite able to carry a title lead into the final race of the day. An exultant Shaky Byrne has taken the race victory.
And look how wet it is on parts of this track, Jack. It's unreal. Still wet.
Despite the fact the sun has been out fairly consistently throughout that race. Here comes John Hopkins plunging down through Dingle Dell. He'll still lead the championship after a long, hard ride back from that early technical glitch. He'll cross the line in 12th place. Westmoreland has already crossed the line in 8th behind Gowland, Bridewell and ahead of Dan Linfoot. Carl Harris crosses the line now. We're expecting to see Patrick Muff cross the line. He does, and then it's Hopkins' turn. 12th place then for the Samsung Crescent Suzuki. Wow, what a breathtaking race that was. What a relieved Les Pearson after that bike restart.
I know, head in hands time at the beginning.
Wow, that was some impressive wheelie there, downhill out of 13. Shaky's pumped.
Do you think he's pleased? I'm pleased for him. What a ride in difficult conditions.
Shane Byrne, and he's got that new helmet on, of course, that he was presented with, that celebrates the birth of his baby daughter Lily. That's great. So Shaky's he's obviously really enjoyed that, and he had some real work to do in front of Kirkham. The MCE Insurance British Superbike Championship race in association with Pirelli. 2nd race result of the weekend. Shaky Byrne wins it for HM Plant Honda ahead of John Kirkham Samsung Crescent Suzuki. James Ellison snatches 3rd place for Sorrymate.com Honda from the Swan Yamaha of Tommy Hill. A crucial swap that was on the penultimate lap. Chris Walker's Primo Racing Kawasaki finishes a season best 5th. Graham Gowland, and yet another season equaling best for the Evo bike of Team WFR Honda in 6th. Tommy Bridewell's Motorpoint Yamaha, a strong 7th ahead of James Westmoreland on the 2nd WFR Honda. And then Dan Linfoot, first top 10 finish for the quiet Yorkshireman on the Tyco Honda ahead of Carl Harris on the split and after Aprilia. 2nd Evo, 3rd Evo on the roster. Patrick Muff, Tyco Honda. John Hopkins retains his championship lead for Samsung Crescent Suzuki with 12th ahead of Scott Smart. Peter Hickman in his 120th British Superbike race for Tyco Honda. James Hillier gets a point for 15th ahead of Yuichi Kianari, Dan Neen, Aaron Zanotti, Steve Hennigan and Michael Laverty.
Right, thank you very much, Jack. Yes, just in Park Ferme. We're going to let James Ellison come in here on the sorrymate.com Honda. There goes James Ellison. Just checks who else is coming in. Graham Gallen's coming in too. But I'll tell you who I want to speak to first. Dan, the cameraman, turn around here because I want to speak to John Kirkham. John, very, very tricky conditions out there. But again, that was one of the best rides we've seen from you this season.
Yeah, we like them conditions. The first corner, second corner was really tricky. There's a lot of like full damp, like wet patches, and as a few went down. But I just managed to get a line through there that I was happy with, and I daren't try any other line, if you know what I mean. So I just stuck to that line the whole race. And I sort of clawed Shaky in a few places, but he was like equally as fast as me, so it was so difficult. So I'm just really happy with second. The Samsung Crescent Suzuki team has worked absolutely awesome all year. So one more race, and it's a nice end to the season.
Great result for you, good result for the team as well, especially to make up for what happened with John earlier on. But he's okay, he did finish off and he did score some points, but well done.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
John Kirkham there, our second place finisher. Let's take a look at this. This is our race win here. Let's get in here. This is Shane Byrne. Shane Byrne just having a quick debrief with Chris Pike. Shaky, just before you go, he's going to go say hello to his wife Petra, and why not? Well, a hug for everybody, and a hug for Neil Tuxworth, the boss of Honda Racing. And there's Petra giving her man a big hug, and why not? Javier Beltran as well, celebrating with Shane Byrne. It has been a hell of a weekend for the man. Right, Shaky, we're going to get in now. We are going to have this. John Kirkham celebrates the race winner. Shaky, 2 crashes this weekend. It has been really tough for you. Sum up the emotion that you're feeling now.
I feel like I just won the championship. Honestly, I'm so happy. I mean, I gave my guys a lot of work this weekend, and through no fault of our own really, but to turn it around, we needed that win more now than ever, and I just did everything I could, and fortunately we pulled it off.
Any moments out there, anything that caused you any concern early on?
You weren't watching TV, obviously. I think I had more moments in that one race than I've had in my whole career. Very difficult race. Tricky conditions with the patches and stuff like that, and I nearly got flicked a few times, but fortunately it all panned out, and we ended up where we needed to be.
Fantastic result for you. The best way you could have repaid the team. Very well done, Shane.
Celebrate my little girl.
There we go. Turn around. Let's show that to the camera. There you go. That's the new helmet on the back to celebrate the new baby daughter. Well done. Okay, so that's Shane Byrne. Tommy Hill is further down pit lane. He's with Charlie Hiscock.
Tommy, that's got to be one of the hardest races of your career.
Yeah, I had a lot going on in my head, and what to do, what not to do, how hard to push, and I'm not happy with Kirkham. At the end of the day, he's out there, he's got nothing to lose, which is his position, but I could tell what he was playing at, and if he wants to play the game, we'll play the game, but I got a championship to try and win here, and I had the pace to go to pull Shaky back in, but I got mixed up with him and bent my front brake lever. So I was trying to get used to that first few laps, and I nearly tucked the front up into the top of paddock and stuff. I just let it settle down. Then I had a big moment coming out of Drury's, and my foot got stuck in the back wheel, so that's a brand new boot before I went out, and it got stuck in the back wheel, and I managed to save it. I don't know how I'm still on the bike, to be honest. I had some big moments, and my heart pounding out my chest, but we've stepped up our game, we've caught Hopper up, which is our plan. And hopefully Michael can help me out a little bit in race 2, because I'm sure Kirkham helped out Hopper there. So we'll try and get out in race 2. I'm not sure where I am on the grid. I was riding on the edge then a little bit, and I've got a lot going on in my mind. I've got a championship to try and win. So big thanks to the team and everyone, and big thanks to the crowd as well. They've been amazing. So hopefully we can do it in race 2.
We'll see you out there. Thanks, Tommy.
Cheers, mate.
Right, we are here in Park Ferme. Thank you very much, Charlie. Let's grab James Ellison then. James Ellison standing here with Robin Croft, sorrymate.com, Honda team boss. Brilliant to see you up here. What a ride that was. At which point did you make the call to go past Tommy?
Well, to be honest, I was trying to be safe. I mean, at the end of it, it's their championship, it's been fought all year. The lads have worked hard for it, and nobody deserves it more than Tommy, I really do want him to win it. But at the end of the day, it's racing, Robin puts a lot into this team. He's given me a chance this year. SMT, sorrymate.com, Honda team. I've got SRS Rail, UK Limited, GSW Machinery, Everybody's helping me out, and it's like I can't sit there in 4th place. I knew Hopper was a little bit further back because I was reading his pit board. So I thought, well, if I pass Tommy, it's not taking too many points off him. And just at the end, back marker got in Tommy's way, I think, and that was it. It's like, right, I'm going for it. But it was tough. Conditions were bad out there. But we're home safe. We've got 3rd place, and I think this big man's happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a very quick one, Robin. Sum up the emotion for us right now.
I cannot believe my heart rate at the moment, Tony. It's been 5 years, 120 races, £1 million in sponsorship, and this is their first rostrum in Superbike, so elated for the team, elated for James, and for myself, I must admit. I'm over the moon. Thank you.
Where is over the moon for you? A beer on you later on. Charlie Hiscox further down pit lane. He's got John Hopkins with him.
John, what was the problem with the bike?
Just basically just had a couple of electrical issues. The bike just was coming in off of the back straightaway, and then the bike just completely shut down, completely shut off, and just don't know what happened. And then so I had to basically just restart the engine, completely just turned it back off, reset it, and then it started back up, and I got going again. So I don't know, pretty bad time for it to happen, but I don't know. I mean, did the best we could. Luckily, they gave me my position. So on the last, I think, penultimate lap, I tried for a qualifying lap. And I think because we were qualified 10th, so put myself back up under the front row. So I don't know. I mean, I don't even know where I'm at in the points, but I don't know. We'll see.
Thanks very much, John. Good luck in race 2.
Thank you.
An aggrieved John Hopkins might just be able to summon up a smile when he finds that he still leads the title chase by 2 points from Tommy Hill. A despondent Tommy Hill, second in Swan Yamaha, 627 points. 600 points for Shaky Byrne in third place. Michael Laverty, 10 points further back in fourth. Josh Brooks, still 2 points adrift in fifth on the relentless Suzuki by Taz, ahead of Yuichi Kianari's HM Plant Honda. John Kirkham, 7th after an aggressive performance, ahead of Michael Rutter, Peter Hickman and Gary Mason. This was the start. Initially, Brooks got a storming start from the outside on pole position and cut across in front of Shaky Byrne and Michael Laverty. Hopper tried to go around the outside, lost out in the end as Tommy Hill got the drive up the inside and lay in fourth place, but lost out, ran wide and carefully through Druids. Then, startlingly, Hopkins suffered that electrical glitch down the top straight, down the Derek Minter straight. He shut the bike down, tried to fire it back up. The marshal stood back, he got going again. But Michael Laverty was determined to get to the front, and he rounded Shaky Byrne in brilliant style, going through Paddock Hill. Then, just a foot or two wide into Druids, down he went as he hit the damp patch. Shaky inherited the lead once again, and this time was in front of Hopkins as we lost Martin Jessup brilliantly hanging on to the Rapid Solicitors Bathans Ducati down Paddock Hill. And then a huge moment here, running wide into Paddock Hill. Ben Brooks just lost the front, and look at the state of that bike. When that bike decides to roll, it rolls big time. Harvey Beltran can't believe what's going on. Sean Muir on the edge of his seat, and look at this moment for Tommy Hill. That's when he almost wrecked his boot, got it caught in the back wheel. Ian Lowry slid out at the same place on the MSS Colchester Kawasaki, and the damp patches causing constant problems. Hopkins back on the go, finally made it back into the points when he caught Manx man Daniel Neen, number 55 from Braddon on the Marks Bloom Racing Kawasaki, and took 15th place. Meanwhile, James Ellison, aware that he didn't want to damage Tommy Hill's title chances, but eager to get through and get SMT's first ever podium in 5 years of BSB racing. That effort didn't work, but Tommy was struggling with grip on the Swan Yamaha, and finally it almost inevitably happened. Tommy caught the curb coming out of Stirling's, and the drive there from number 16 James Ellison meant that he was able to pass the Yamaha through into third place. Shaky Byrne relieved and overjoyed to win ahead of a frustrated John Kirkham. Great result then for Shaky Byrne, not such a good one for Tommy Hill. It's all down to the last race of the weekend.
Should we whip out on this grid and we might be able to get it?
So there we go then, there is the national anthem for Shane Byrne, stands on the top step of the podium. What a fantastic ride by the HM Plant Honda man. What a fantastic ride as well by John Kirkham and James Ellison for the first ever podium. Mate.com, Honda, Robin Crofton and the rest of the team there. What a thrilling couple of races we've brought you already, and we have barely scratched the surface, because when we come back it will be time for the headbanging action that is the Metzler National Superstock 600s.